who basically ran a film club called Nubian Tales, and he's one of the first black men in the UK to start film screenings and putting black filmmakers on a pedestal and black films on the big screen. And he did that. He did that at the Electric Cinema in West London. And there was also a lady called, and I cannot remember her surname, Julie, who ran a company called Film Days. And actually, it was Julie. I met her, and she was the one when I first started that helped me to get the first big film I got. So the second film that I ever screened was the UK premiere of Ice Cube's directorial debut, and the film was called The Players Club. And I got that film, and it was really fantastic. And I thought I had made it after that. Only sooner, to soon learn that it wasn't that easy. But I give big props to Nubian Tales, to Mark Booth, and also to Julie at Film Days. As I said, I started with at a cinema called the New Curzon Cinema in North London in Turnpike Lane, and it was an Indian-run cinema. And basically, I basically went in there and said that I wanted to show black films. I'm not coming from a film background at all. I'm coming from more of a promotions and marketing background, and I used to keep raves, parties, and basically had a knack for getting people to come out and enjoy themselves at raves, parties, and other type of events. And found myself miraculously in the film business. That's a whole nother story. And walked into the cinema, which is the New Curzon Cinema in Turnpike Lane, and spoke to the manager there. He was an Indian man, and said I wanted to screen films there. He told me the manager wasn't there and I should come back another time. I was walking past another day, and then he ran out and called me and said he was the manager, revealed he was the manager. He must have not been making any money that week, and basically said, what do I want to do? And I said, I want to screen black films and blah, blah, blah. And I had no idea how I was going to screen black films. I just knew that I wanted to do that because I felt that black filmmakers at that time weren't being given the opportunity to have their films seen. And this was 1998, which was a very different climate from it is now, and how it is for film exhibitors now. So we had a great screening of the Players Club. 500 people turned out. I had some of the Tottenham football players turn out, Les Ferdinand and Rule Fox, and I got some great exposure from that. And that was the beginning of my journey as a film exhibitor. Someone, a film exhibitor, someone who puts, who curates films and puts films on the big screens and organizes events around those screenings, and obviously understands the target market and how to market films to that audience and actually get bums on seats. So that's basically sort of my story of how I got started. I could go on probably all day, and Kush has screened films, the Kush Film Club originally, which later became the Kush Film Boutique, and we screened films in the West End for over, it was based in the West End for over 10 years, at some of the most prestigious cinemas there, and then have gone on to take black films to most cinemas across London. I screened films at some stage, and also to Bristol, Luton, Leeds, and Birmingham. And it's been a wonderful journey, but a very hard journey. This is what I do full time, and I've always done it full time. I've never had any other sort of job. I've made a living out of this, and it's been it's been a pleasure to bring entertainment to the black community and to be a film exhibitor. So without any further ado, I now want to bring on some of the past people I met on the way, and some of the new film exhibitors who are out there doing great work. And I want you to welcome 5 film exhibitors that I have here tonight, and basically I'm going to let them tell their story. So would like to say hello to Teanne Andrews from We Are Parable, also to Devon Daly from the Feel Good Film Club, also to Iyare, Igiehon from Soul Film UK and also Soul Fest, and also to Lara Samuels also from Rapport Festival. And I'll let them tell their story and talk about the work they do and all the difficulties, hurdles, success, and stuff that they have encountered. So yeah, first and foremost, I can't seem to see anyone on here. Any of my guests? Hello, everyone. Are you there?
Hello, I'm here.
Who's that?
This is
Marlon,
Chris.
I'm here.
Everyone's here.
Chris Burton from
Keep
Black
your videos on, please, everyone. You make sure your video is on.
I'm here too.
Thank you. Lara, hello.
Hello.
You see, I don't call you Laura anymore.
No, it's still ain't pronounced. It's Lara.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
Well, I'm Lara.
All right.
I believe Chris Burton is going to be late. Chris is not here yet, is he?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, you're here, Chris. Hey.
Yeah,
Chris.
I'm here. My
How
video
are
is
you?
working though, but yeah, I'm here. I managed to get off, so I'm here.
Okay, Chris is my good colleague from Bristol. One of the first guys I met on my journey
Yeah.
screening films. So let me start with I'm going to start with Teanne. Teanne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Hi.
I can't
You
see
hear
you. Okay, oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
I'm T.
Oh, hi. So,
cool.
yeah, so I guess I'll just start by introducing myself and just a bit about like the company and how we got founded and
Yes, please.
talk for a bit. Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Teanne Andrews. I am the co-founder of We Are Parable. We Are Parable, we're a film exhibition company that provide opportunities for screening films. I run the company with my husband, Anthony. We founded the company in 2013. It kind of came about through a really kind of tough period that we were both having at the time. We weren't working at the time, and we literally just switched on the TV one day and saw Coming to America was on TV. And it's a film that we obviously grew up with, but we were too young to see it in the cinema. And we just had this thought, like, wouldn't it be fun just to put it on the cinema just for like one night only kind of thing? And that's what we did. We worked quite closely with our local cinema. We were introduced to Stratford Picture House through Priscilla Igiehon from the New Black Film Collective. And yeah, we decided to put the film on and kind of wrap around an event with it. Just to give you a bit of background to our professional backgrounds. Anthony's background is marketing and content producing, and my background is community arts and visual arts, working in museums and galleries and in the heritage sector. So we kind of did that event just as a pick-me-up event, really, just to make ourselves feel good, something that we really wanted to focus on. It was a sold-out event and really well received, and kind of like from then people just kept asking us like when our next event was going to be, and kind of like the rest is history. I mean, originally we started off the business as just like a passion project, so we weren't looking to kind of go into it in terms of like our full-time jobs. We had jobs, well, we had just lost our jobs at the time when we started the business, but we were hoping to kind of do this as a sideline. But now I'm happy to say that, you know, Anthony's working full-time on the business and I'll be joining him in January. So, you know, we've kind of the business has kind of evolved to a point where we're both kind of doing this work now. And yeah, I think we've a few nationwide projects which have been funded by the BFI. We're also co-founders of Soul, so Iyare here, Soul Fest, so Iyare will talk a bit about that. And Auntie and I recently became trustees of the Rio Cinema August gone as well. So we are really kind of committed to ensuring that, you know, our stories are seen on the screen, on the big screen. and also that people can come out and feel that they can own certain spaces. I know a lot of what we've kind of realized in the industry, especially with some venues, that people don't often feel like those venues are for them. And we've wanted to kind of change that slightly through the events that we've put on. And yeah, I think that's, I don't know what else more to say really.
Well, I think you said, yeah, you convinced quite a lot there. So, just remind people how long you've been doing this now.
7 years.
7 years.
7 years. Yeah, we started in 2013. As I said, it's a husband and wife business, and between those times we've had 2 children, so it wasn't as full on as it is now. And it became like a lifestyle business for us, and still is in a sense. But now it's like, you know, this is what Anthony does full time, and this is what hopefully I'll be doing from January. So it's kind of like, now this is what we've created, and it's really exciting that we've been able to use our passions and our experiences and fuse them together to work in this way.
Okay. So all right,
Yeah.
so let's move on to, you mentioned his name, and obviously you guys work together, partnered together. So let's move to Iyare. So Iyare, coming to, and you tell us, you know, how you started, what propelled you into becoming a film exhibitor, and how Soul Film UK and Soul Fest all started.
Well, I feel like a little bit of a charlatan in this company, because there are some true greats here, and I don't feel that I'm anywhere near on the level of some of the exhibitors that we have here. My journey into exhibition was almost accidental. I was freelancing as a kind of a media content producer, trainer for the BFI's education department in 2013, where I'd been doing that for on and off for years up till 2013, and I'd met the guy who was going to become my partner in soul, a guy called Nuru Makali. And one day we realized that, like some of the other freelance guys who were kind of working with us at the BFI, would go to the team at the education department and say, well, can we borrow the cinema? So this is BFI South Bank. Can we use the cinema to screen a film for our friends that we just made or whatever? And we looked at each other one day and said, why aren't we doing that? And then around the same time, a very energetic gentleman called Lawrence Coke came to us and was like, well, he came to me and he said, look, how do I get my film on at the BFI? And I was like, I don't know, bro. And the two things seemed to kind of slap together. So we started putting on what was going to be a one-off event just to get a few black filmmakers access to the BFI South Bank to show their films, right? And as we started putting that together, we realized that one solitary event wasn't going to cover it. So we'd better come up with a brand and a way of kind of doing this on an ongoing basis. So that's where we got to the name Soul, Screening Our Unseen Lives. It's all about getting those stories on screen that weren't telling the tales. You know, you were at the time, it felt like it was easy to get a black story on screen as long as it was about gangsters selling food on housing estates. If it was about anything else, it felt like it was a real challenge to get any other type of black story on screen. So that's why we went with the name. And in early 2014, we did our first kind of screening and networking event. All right. It went really well, and the head of education at the BFI South Bank came up and had a look around the event, said, this is good. You know what I mean? There was a couple of hundred black people at the BFI to see basically short films that they'd never heard of, and they still showed up. So they were like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm not on Marlon's level. Nobody's ever paid for a Soul Celebrate Connect event, and I've never made any money putting on films. So I think it's important to say I'm not in the same league.
You obviously offer still a very valuable service, especially for the younger generation coming up, and the whole short film genre. Because again, you know,
absolutely.
back in our day, people didn't even know what a short film was.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, Marlon. So what happened then was essentially every quarter we would get people together, show a few films, and that was going really nicely. And every once in a while, someone would come along with a feature film and say, "Can you show my film?" And saying, we kind of concentrate on shorts so that we can share the platform with as many people each time as we can. But we always realised that we needed to come up with a way of screening longer form work. And so 2015, we kind of pitched the idea of Soulfest. And it took a long time to kind of get it through the machine at the BFI. But eventually, Gayleen Gould took over there. And she kind of greenlit us to kind of do it. At which point we were like, we'd kind of pitched the idea 4 years before and we'd almost given up on it. So when they finally went, "Oh yeah, you could do it," we were like, but how? Do you know what I mean? So that's when it was my sister who had the bright idea of kind of teaming up and working out how we could team up with other people. So we called on the amazing Priscilla Igiehon, and obviously Anthony and Teanne, and Akua Gyamfi from the British Blacklist, and we all teamed up to essentially deliver the first Soulfest in 2019. We showed 4 feature films by Black British directors, and I think we showed 6 shorts that year, and that went really well. And so this year, COVID happened, and we were like, there's no way we're going to be able to pull this off. And then eventually we worked out a way of kind of delivering the festival on the BFI player. So we showed 19 shorts this year, 3 features, and did a whole bunch of educational events. And that's how we kind of got to where we are.
Okay,
that's
excellent.
where we're at the moment.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So let me bring in Lara now. Hi, Lara from Rapport.
It's Lara. See,
Lara.
Yeah.
Lara,
Hello.
all right. From the
Okay.
Rapport Festival. Please,
Yeah.
So tell us your story now and what propelled you into, obviously setting up your festival, which not only includes short showing films, but you also have theatre.
It's yeah. So
Yes, exactly.
So I'll just make it clear for everybody. My name is Lara Samuels, and I'm the artistic director of Rapport Festival, which is a multidisciplinary arts festival. So there we have visual artists, we have photography workshops, we have music, dance, other work. It's across the board arts, of which film is one element. And so if I go back, my starting point was I worked in theatre as a director. I was lucky when I came out of university. I went straight, directed a full-length play, and thought, "Oh, my career's off. Here we go." And then I tried to go down the kind of professional theatre route, and realised there's a bit of a glass ceiling, kind of concrete ceiling, and so. I graduated in 2002, worked in theatre until 2006 when I'd reached my level of debt, and went back to work, and I worked in the banking industry. While there, I did do some projects, mainly theatre, and then eventually I think I got to 2014, and I think I had an existential crisis, decided that I can't work in this for the banks anymore. I need to do my art, did some research, took some years out working out how to work a festival, worked at Lift, worked at South Bank Centre, and kind of learned the process, and then went about programming and getting stuff sorted. So 2017, because I come from a theatre background, I really am deep in theatre, so I didn't know a lot about film other than films I like, and the fact that there's a lack of representation for African diaspora films. So in 2017, embarking upon my festival, and that's when I started. The first year was an interesting year. I wasn't meant to program it myself because that's not where I came from, and I had conversations with people but that didn't work out, and then ended up having to program it myself, which was a baptism of fire, particularly since it's new films that I'm screening and it's international. So I screened a few old films and some new films in the first year, I think it was about 6 films first year. Second year, and each year progressively it's got more. So I've got like a thing called Random Shorts, which is on the Friday, that's full of short films. And generally I show about 8 hours. I was showing about 8 hours worth of films. And then this year we're going to lockdown. So the submissions were open for longer. And I ended up with submissions I received was like 44 hours worth of films, which I reduced down to 14 hours and screened 61 films over the weekend on the internet. And I was knackered afterwards. It was a lot of work, but it's good because it's opened up avenues. I think, interestingly, this online setup has meant that we've got to be creative and create opportunities that we wouldn't have considered before. So so that's my story, and let's see what happens for 2021.
Okay, and did you mention clearly where you sort of were previously based, and obviously with next for 2021, where do you think you would be based again? Obviously, I know.
Previously, I was screening my films at World Cinema in Brixton, which is a small cinema in Brixton, 70-seater. And actually, that's where I met Marlon. So I met you at that cinema, because I think you were screening stuff there as well yourself, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, who knows what's going to happen with the cinemas, and that's a bit of a worry. Who knows what's going to happen for next year? I think now that the online element has started, even if I screen in a cinema, I think there's going to have to be an online element with it as well, and some kind of way that they run in tandem, live, if possible. That's the other thing. My festival was run live, which was heart-stopping as well, and also understanding how the platforms on the internet and how much it costs and the tech. It was work, but it was done.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So let me bring in now Devon from Derby. And again, I really wanted to make this not so London-centric and focus on us guys all down in London. So Devon, you're up in Derby doing your thing. Please tell us how you got started and your story. You there, Devon? Unmute your mic if you're there, and Devon? Oh, Chris. Let me go to Chris. Chris, are you there?
My mic was on mute there. Yeah, I'm here. You all right?
Oh, sorry, is that Chris, yeah?
This is Chris, yeah.
Come, tell us your story, Chris. Tell us about Black.
I should be on camera now. I don't know what.
Yeah, you are. Come on, mate.
Yes, Marlon. We go back a long way. I mean, I met Marlon in but when you were doing the film screenings in Turnpike Lane, I remember that well, actually, back then. But my story starts probably before that. I mean, Black Pyramid Film started in 1993 by Femi Kalade and Ian. And I came there probably about 95, 96 as a trainee, because I wanted to get into film production. That was my main thing, really. So I wanted to learn how to make films, because as a Black person, it was very difficult to get into film through the normal routes, about the amount of stereotypes that were around Black people, obviously, as we all know. But so I got into it through that. And then during that period, I started to get into the film festival side of it, because Black Pyramid was already doing a film festival through Femi, like I said, Femi Kalade had started it. But yeah, so I got into it about 97, and I've got to give big props to the Watershed Cinema in Bristol, which really put us on the map, and Mark Cosgrove in particular, actually, who had 100% faith, because a lot of people, as you know, Marlon, when you said Black films, most people went, what? And just sort of turned away and just weren't interested in it, to be honest. So Mark Cosgrove gave us a lot of leeway and a lot of kind of freedom to kind of put on films that weren't really popular. And one of the main things that we found out when I was starting to do Black film was distributors just weren't really interested in pushing Black films. It was one of the hardest things to do, was to convince distributors to bring, especially films over from America, because they were just like, this film's got no legs anywhere, so we're not interested in pushing it. So that was one of the things we had to really try and do. So yeah, so about '97, I started to get involved in exhibition of film. We put on films like Dancehall Queen when it first came out, which was completely sold out. And films, we even did the Hurricane, Denzel Washington film. We've done loads of those sort of Hollywood films. But basically, what I wanted to do, I wanted to kind of mix the kind of Hollywood sort of entertainment films with a lot more hardcore, grounded, independent films, which kind of, I wanted to get people in through the entertainment side and also give them a bit of the sort of independent sort of cinema as well as that experience. And as you mentioned, short film, that was a massive part of our thing as well. We wanted to showcase short filmmakers and give them a platform to show films that you wouldn't normally see otherwise. So that's kind of how we kind of did that's how we kind of put our package together as Black Pyramid Films. And that went on till from about 93 to about 2001 when the organization changed and we all kind of went our separate ways. Mindell Bone was another person that was involved. She went on to work for Aardman Animation. Femi's in London at film and just making movies and stuff. Ian's in Birmingham. I think he's part of the Come the Revolution thing. And I went on to the BBC. Actually, I worked for the BBC, did some producing there. Also worked for the BFI for a bit. The Arts Council. Now at the University of Bath in the audiovisual department. So we kind of basically Black Pyramid was like a platform for Black people to get into the media and to start making waves in the film industry. And on that basis, I think it really achieved. It was a massive platform, and it's probably the best job I've ever had, to be honest. So that's one of the things I should still be doing, and I am going to be getting back into doing more exhibition stuff. Well, the lights going off in here, but so that's kind of my story in a nutshell. There's so many other people. I mean, Sankofa as well. Menelik Shabazz from Black Filmmaker magazine was a really big support to us as well. Galen Gould, even Carrie Sawney, who was at the BFI years ago, actually, probably in the mid '90s. They supported us quite massively in terms of money and finance and stuff. So yeah, we kind of spent our time in back and forth between Bristol and London quite a lot. And as Marlon knows, we even spent a lot of time in New York as well, because I know Marlon went there a few times as well to the few film festivals over there, which were pretty crazy, and across Europe. So we had a lot of good times actually, and that's probably one of the reasons why I still want to keep myself into this sort of world and get back into it again.
Yeah, we actually, and we also met in Bristol, didn't we?
Yes, Marlon. We had showed some films in Cineworld as well in Bristol, didn't we?
Yeah, because I had to screen films down on behalf of some distributors. I think I did
Bamboozled.
Pardon?
Bamboozled, you did in.
Yeah, I did Bamboozled there, and then there was another film. It was a remake, the one with we move on anyway. I forgot the name of it.
So many, I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, because I had to screen films at the Watershed as well.
Yeah.
As you said, Mark is one of the cinema managers that really supported and helped Black film exhibitors back in the day. He's helped a lot of people basically. And
I got to big up Mark, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So right, so let me move on. I'm not sure if Devon, because I just jumped off to try and call him. Is Devon still there?
Hello, Marlon. Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, you are there now. Oh, great, excellent. So Devon, right? So time's running. So let's get into what you do up here in Derby with the Feel Good Film Club. Tell people your story and how you got started.
Sure. Thanks very much. First of all, apologies, my camera isn't working. First time I've used Teams, and I'll get it right the next time with a full visual effect. But in terms of what we do in Derby, Feel Good Film Club is our bi-monthly club that we started in 2009 with the film Soul Power. But before that, in the mid-90s, I did a couple of test one-off events. So we called one of them Patty, Popcorn and Flicks, as in Jamaican Patty. And we featured Welcome to the Terror Dome, which was a kind of African sci-fi film. And also I Like It Like That, which was a female Spike Lee named Darnell Martin's directorial debut. So that happened in April '95, and then in the Black History Month for the October, we had things like Drop Zone, Poetic Justice, and Jason's Lyric. But Derby wasn't really ready for that kind of experience at the time, because we shared those two seasons at the UCI and the independent cinema, which was at the time called Metro. So fast forward to 2009, and the independent cinema in Derby changed from the Metro to Quad. And I approached Quad to see whether they would be willing to embrace the idea of a club celebrating alternative black films. I didn't specifically say it was just for black people, but it was definitely specifically highlighting positive black films, hence the name Feel Good Film Club. And they were happy to get on board. We felt, being a smaller city, that a bi-monthly event, first Friday of the month, was the way to go. That helped to make it an appointment for people to come along. And it was also the small cinema at the Quad, 3 screens. We had the 50-seater because I always felt that it was better in terms of word of mouth and generating greater support to have sold out 50-seaters rather than go in the 150, 200-seater and only have 80 or 90 people, and then it looks a bit thin. So that's the way we've used the cinema in Derby. The Quad has helped us over the 10 years. We had the celebration 10th anniversary, December 2019. We actually showed Trojan, which, although it was a couple of years old, we combined it with an after party. I did some DJing because that's my entertainment start point, really. I started as a DJ playing around my local city.
Yeah, he did.
And that then moved into the film world, because I remember buying all the soundtracks, you know, Coffee and Superfly and all those things from a musical point of view, and thinking, wouldn't it be great to see these kind of films? And so that's where the idea came. And we've been really lucky. We've shown things like Fruitvale Station, Michael B. Jordan, one of his early films, which was brilliant. We showed a local hip-hop documentary called NG83, which highlighted the hip-hop scene combining Derby and Nottingham. And then things like Fire in Babylon, Story of Lovers Rock, Menelik Shabazz has been mentioned. Big up to Menelik. The biggest film we showed in Derby, Yardi, Idris Elba's directorial debut. We had 180-something people. We had the big screen that night, and it showed me that if you can get people enthused about a film, you can exceed your expectations, even in a smaller city like we have, which means we've got less people interested in black culture.
Absolutely. True. Okay. Right. I can see a few messages in the chat, and my good friend and colleague Cyril Henry is asking for people to put their, or for the exhibitors to put their details, or the websites and your contact, or social media in the chat before we leave, so you can do that, so people can sort of like check you out and follow you up. And that obviously makes a good deal of sense, because we've got a very short space of time, and already it's like about 15 minutes. So quickly, I'm going to spin back to let's just try and answer a few questions and answer them as quickly as we can, and just to speed through things. So I'm going to just go back to Teanne, and the quick question is, what sort of hurdles have you encountered, and how have you overcome them? And what sort of support do you think exhibitors sort of need for us to thrive in this industry?
I think initially when we started out, one of the biggest hurdles was having the conversation with distributors about gaining access to the films, and actually gaining access to them on release, and maybe even previewing films. I think originally when we came onto the scene, we felt that we had to kind of prove ourselves within the industry in order for distributors to give us certain films when we asked for them. Because I think a lot of the time, when we originally asked, we were being not always got through to the right person, or we were being told that that they will think about it but not get back to us. And so that was really frustrating, because we kind of knew what kind of events we could produce, but we wanted to have access to the films. And I think that was a bit frustrating. And I think for us, it changed in 2017 when we curated a film festival called Spike is 60, which was a retrospective of Spike Lee's work. And halfway through that festival, Spike Lee contacted us and we did an event with Spike Lee in London. After we did that event, we were seen differently in the industry in terms of access to films. And unfortunately, it took something like that to get the attention of those people that we needed. But I mean, honestly speaking, that was the event that really kind of changed our business model from a passion project into a business, because we were able to get access and then through that then actually show, you know, the type of kind of high level events that we've done, what we can do, and the audience that they can bring, the engagement that we can bring, but also inviting other creatives who we've kind of watched on the scene who have different specialisms, whether they're graphic designers or they're poets, bringing them into the event as well and actually curating around an event. So I think, you know, honestly speaking, that was one of the hurdles. And I think being part of a network has really helped. So we are part of the New Black Film Collective, which Priscilla Egwe kind of heads up. And we kind of joined that collective really early on in our business, and just being introduced with other people, like, you know, across the UK, like that has really helped, and kind of had that kind of open discussion and forum about some of the challenges which we're all having. I always feel like when you work on a united front with more than one organisation, where you're seen as a stronger entity. And I can see that with how we work with Soul, and I can definitely see that when we partner up with other organisations. And so for us now, our mission is to pass the baton down to other people now that we have been able to open the doors, not open the doors, but get in to doors by like in, you know. And I know there's been people like yourself, Marlon, that's been doing it for many years, you know. So, you know, props to you as well for having that persistence, because if it wasn't for people like yourself, gosh, it would have been even harder for us, you know. So I feel like now our responsibility is to kind of, you know, continue that
Absolutely.
and encourage, you know, more exhibition.
And that is actually one of my last questions. We're going to get to that basically in terms of the future and, you know, new exhibitors and young people. So again, so, you know, Iyare, question, you know, what hurdles you've overcome. Let's try and, a bit quicker, we ran out of time, so let's be quick.
The real hurdle that we kind of encountered was just, you know, so there's two things. There's one is raising the money to do what you're doing, and two is getting people to believe in what you're trying to achieve, or to back what you're trying to achieve. So, you know, I mean, like the BFI South Bank have backed us amazingly in terms of putting on Soul sorts of events, but you know, equally at the same time, it took 4 years to convince them that a festival based on black films and targeting a black audience was worth doing. So do you see what I mean? That's the big hurdles. But then a lot of the way that we've been able to counteract some of those difficulties has been to kind of teaming up with other people who believe that black audiences and black films are worth supporting and worth believing in. And so, but you know, things have really stepped up a gear since we teamed up and made the kind of Soulfest consortium. That's kind of pushed things up a bit of a level. And, you know, I mean, I suppose this year, you know, one of the things that was really interesting off the back of that is that, like, Disney came and sought us out to kind of do some work around this film Soul that they've got. And, you know, we did a partnership with Amazon and a partnership with Sony. And, you know, so that was the thing that, like, once you kind of, once we teamed up and it seemed like the whole thing took on a kind of an extra level of sort of seriousness and professionalism and scale, all of which we couldn't have achieved on our own. You got to be very clear. So do you see what I mean? And it meant that what's happened is that in the same way, by kind of getting started, Teanne kind of catches Spike's attention and kind of gets noticed, and then that kind of gives her the kind of, you know, gives We Are Parable the kind of the cred to do things. I think in the same way that by getting the festival up and running and by teaming up with those guys, it kind of gave us a little bit of credibility. We needed to kind of move it up another level. So that's, you know.
Okay. All right. Lara, you as well now, please, quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah, as everybody said, finance is the biggest hurdle. It's always an issue, and also I think, you know, I am, like, I think I'm the youngster here when it comes to actually screening film, in the sense that I really only started in 2017. So for me, and also my organisation is small. It's me. I get people in as freelancers, and I think so. A lot of the problems are infrastructure in relation to actually running the business and having dedicated people doing everything. Whereas I'm editing, I'm doing, you know what I mean? That's a big deal, and that all leads back to money at the end of the day, finance.
Okay, so I'll go to Devon from here. Devon, quickly.
Yes, I think for me, it's the distribution is the key thing, because one of the big frustrations, I was lucky enough to go to the States and buy DVDs like Great Debaters when it came out, and things like Love Jones, which I've still not been able to screen at the local cinema. And to me, with this COVID scenario, that's opening up potential for us to be able to screen things online that we couldn't get because distributors didn't take us seriously. So I think that's where I see things going for 2021 and beyond.
Okay, great, excellent. So Chris, obviously you're not into sort of the film exhibition anymore presently. So what are you doing? And I mean, what's happening down in Bristol right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just listening to the other guys, and I kind of agree with everything they're saying, to be honest. And I think that money is a massive factor on why most of the time a lot of people got to do this as like a bit of a side hustle, because they've got to keep their normal job going and kind of find time to kind of put on films on the side, really, which is not really fair. Which is this sort of thing deserves more dedication. You need to be dedicated to be doing this. Really, it should be a full-time job. So money is definitely one thing. Distribution, I think, is a massive thing, and getting distributors on the side. I mean, I call it the Black Panther turning point, actually, because when that film came out, I think that proved to distributors that a black-led film and a black-made film can actually make money. I mean, massive money. I wish that happened when we were doing film back in the day, because it would have made it a lot easier. But hopefully this will sort of change the landscape a little bit. And yes, I mean, I'm hoping to get back more into putting on more films in slightly different way, and not just film, possibly other sort of live event things. So kind of watch this space. I'm thinking about doing something slightly different, where it's sort of live performance mixed with film as a live event as well. So that's something that might be coming in the future. But yeah, so I agree with everybody else. I think they put on some really valid points.
Yeah. And just to chime in there as well, again, like for myself, I think, again, things have been a little bit different for me. It's a little bit more easier to get films because maybe I've been around for so long. And the thing that's worked really well for me, for Kush, is that because I have been around for so long and pestered them so much, is that they know who I am. And also, not only that, a lot of the guys who are now at the top, I knew them when they were much lower down, probably not even at the same company, at various other companies. I sort of know most of them in the industry. And, years ago, I kind of realized how this game was played. And I became more kind of corporate focused, dealing directly with the distributors than sort of dealing with, I got fed up of dealing with BFI and Film London, wait for handouts or, filling out application forms and all that sort of stuff. I just got totally fed up with that. And I just learned to become more self-sufficient. As I said, I have been doing this 7 days a week, 24 hours, 24/7, for the last 22 years. So, and again, built that relationship with a lot of distributors. So, I've been fortunate to be able to get a lot of films early, and also actually spin it all around after 10 years, and basically get paid to market a lot of new film releases. And that started for me back in 2009 when I first worked on the film Crash for Pathé, and they I was able to get money out of them to basically pay me to market the film. One of the things that I was doing originally back in the day was flyers, was flyers for all my film screenings, and I had bought that from the party scene, the rave scene, doing flyers, and a lot of film distributors saw that, and a lot of them started approaching me about doing flyers, and this is all before the day of social media and all that sort of stuff. So I used to do a lot of flyers, promoting new film releases and distribute them all over the UK in major cities and things like that, as well as again my relationship with the black community and pirate radio stations. A lot of the guys I know, I kind of grew up with. A lot of them are my mates, so I can get radio ads on all that sort of stuff. So we graduated from the film club into doing marketing for a lot of the film releases, and that's how I've been able to survive. Because again, film screenings, if I was to depend on film screenings to make a living, I probably would die for hunger. You're not going to make a lot of money out of film screenings, but there's ways to maneuver and make it work. You know what I mean? So to kind of finish up with now. So again, let me go back to Teanne. The future of Black film exhibition, in the UK and the new generation, because again, one of the issues for me over the years is that I can count how many, there's so many young people that I meet, and you meet them and they all want to be actors, directors, producers. But meeting a young person who says, I want to be a film exhibitor, that's a very, very rare thing. Mm-hmm. A lot of them probably never even heard of film exhibition before. Mm-hmm. So how can we remedy this, and how can we get more young people wanting to be film exhibitors and even film distributors, which is very, very important.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think you make a really good point there, because a lot of times when I say to young people or people that are in college that this is what we do, they don't believe that this is actually a viable, that I'm actually doing this as a career. And one of the things that Anthony started to do is to actually go into colleges and universities and give talks. So we've made a commitment, since last year now, as part of our business strand, to do that, to go into the film and television school and give talks to MA students and actually show them examples of our work, and give them opportunities for them to ask questions, but also opportunities for them to be involved in our company, for either through work experience placements or introductions to other people that they're most probably wanting to speak to in the industry. And so that's kind of our first step to that. But obviously, we do know there's so much more to go. But I think it is about just kind of saying what you having that opportunity to talk first hand to the next generation about what we do, because for so long people kind of marveled that actually this is actually a career avenue, a way of working. So
quickly, you probably put it in the chat, but how can people find out more about you? What's your website?
It's all 3 W's at weareparable.com, and same on all of the social media sites as well. Just We Are Parable.
Parable. We Are Parable.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And as you said, we do need to start, especially myself as one of the elders. I have kind of become a bit isolated over the years. This industry, can make you become very bitter with a lot of things, or it just, just sort of become internal in a sense, focused on what you're doing. I don't know, maybe in 10 years' time, you guys may start feeling a bit different about the whole thing, unless it changes and it opens up a bit more, or we have our own cinemas and we have our own distributors. Then, because that's the problem, we're not graduating too bad, so we still have to keep asking for things, basically, and that's one of the problems for us. So yes, Iyare, thank you.
Yes.
Quickly, So the future, and people doing like what young people coming up.
Yes, so I think there's a load of different things going on. So there are things like obviously when we're putting on events and we're putting on our festival, as often as we can, we're creating opportunities for young people to kind of get in different aspects of the the process, during the stuff that I was doing with like BFI's education department. We just kind of give people the opportunity to get one of the best fun things you can do when you're kind of exhibiting films, particularly around shorts, is kind of programming them together, taking these little short stories and stringing to get them together to kind of almost tell a bigger story, take an audience on a journey. It's a lot like DJing, I suppose. So giving people the opportunity to try those sorts of things. I think the technology is changing things for young people. It's like I think a lot of the energy that maybe 15 and 20 years ago was going into things like getting films on screen. That sort of energy is now being, if you look at things like Million Youth Media and a lot of YouTube channels and that sort of energy, a lot of it is going there. People are kind of curating and piecing stuff together on TikTok and YouTube and platforms like that. So I think there's people like Matt Jan and Bounce Cinema. So there's lots and lots of people and young people coming through and doing things. And I think that what happens is also a lot of this stuff is kind of cross-platform. So, a lot of the kind of the energy is kind of transferable, because like say Devon, I know Devon from music when we both worked in the music and the radio game. And obviously we've kind of met through the cinema sort of side of things. And like, Lara and I have kind of met up, and there's people I can see in the chat met at different times and everything along with it. So I think that's where the future is. I mean, the thing is, I can't imagine having been on a session like this 10 years ago. Do you see what I mean? That one, the technology wasn't there, and two, do you see what I mean? The kind of the network and the connections and the kind of sense of community in terms of people trying to do this stuff. So that's the future, I think, is just carving out our little bits of space in this area and taking advantage of the new things that are made possible via the technology, via the new distribution patterns. The fact is, if you keep doing your stuff, then lots of people are going to come and are going to seek you out, because it's possible for them to hear about what you're doing, which wasn't always the case years ago. So I think I'm hopeful that we're going to find a way, because we need to hear these stories, and we need to pull together, and we need that sense of community, and sharing our stories is one of the ways in which we find that sense of community. And it doesn't matter about what goes on, pandemics, recessions, Brexit, whatever else is coming down the pipe, we're still going to have that urge, we're still going to have that need, and we'll find ways of kind of scratching the itch of it, as you were.
Exactly. And thank God for film exhibitors, eh? Thank God for film exhibitors like you guys. So right, over to Lara, please, quickly.
So what was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, about the future, and even for, like you, what you do, because you do something completely not exactly, you're not focused on film exactly, but someone coming up and doing wanting to do what you do.
I would say that if you have an idea, hold on to that idea and find ways to execute it, even if you have to go through a bit of training, a bit of research, watch how other people are doing it. And steal from everybody, including yourself. That's how you have to do it. And I think that right now, what was interesting for me during the pandemic, what happened was I got a load of films that were submitted. And because we were in a pandemic, I then got filmmakers who then decided to make films during the pandemic. And because it's so much easier to transfer films across the world now, that you can make the films in your house, even it doesn't, as long as there's a good narrative, and have it shown. So I think that going forward, there's going to be more and more interchange. Particularly, I run an international festival. I think we're going to have more and more where people are submitting internationally, and we're getting to see the rest of the African diaspora. And I think through that, greater opportunities are going to arise. And just to pick up on what Iyare said just now, I agree that exhibiting is you have got to form a narrative, and it takes me days to work out the line of films, how to make a greater picture, a greater story out of the film, and so that people, if they're not, they should understand that exhibiting films is also a creative process, so that you can still be creative when you're selecting films and how you then create a narrative from other people's films. And if you're a filmmaker, one way to really learn good and bad films is to be an exhibitor.
Okay. So are you offering any opportunities for any young people to come and sort of learn from you and work with you, or, apprenticeships or anything like that?
We always need volunteers, absolutely. There's a potential. I'm working on stuff now, so I don't want to say too much, because I do have to have an infrastructure in place, because there's no good having apprentices and you can't manage the apprentices. So we've got to do it properly. You know what I mean? But there will be opportunities coming up in the future, most definitely.
And quickly, how can people find you and find out where you are?
So yeah, rapportfestival.com. Pardon?
Can you spell it?
Rapport, RAPPORT, festival.com. And all social media is at Rapport Festival, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Excellent. And just going back to Iyare, Iyare is Soul Film UK. Is that .com, Iyare? .com, I can't remember. Your mic. You're muted.
Soulfilm.co.uk, soulfilmfest.co.uk.
Okay.
So those are the two places.
All right, thank you. Over to Devon and then Chris.
Okay, yes. For me, I think the WhatsApp social media heat of this week about Lovers Rock on BBC, part of Steve McQueen's film, proves that people are interested in films. I've not seen so much commentary about a film since Black Panther. So I think that's a message to exhibitors, audiences, and filmmakers that if you put it out there, it will get heat if you light it up right. And for me, I'm looking at trying to find a way around this distribution issue, because I don't want to have to wait for Soul to get offered from Disney. I don't want to have to wait for, the next Black Panther to get offered as a premiere. I went to Brixton to see that premiere, and the electric atmosphere in that room for that European premiere, it was incredible. People in their dashikis, that's the kind of vibe that, as an exhibitor, makes the night worth it, because it's a unique niche experience. And that's what I want to be able to do going forward in a city like Derby.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, how can people find out about what you do up in Derby?
Sure. At Devon DC Daily, DEVON DC, which is my DJ nickname from back in the day. Devon DC Daily, DALEY.
And that is on Twitter and also on Instagram.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Chris, right. Yeah. So in terms of, again, young people, the future, what do you think it all holds, and how can we get more, carry this, make this more viable and carry this all on?
My thing is, I've listened to all the other people, and I totally agree with them. I think never take a no. I've never taken no as an answer, to be honest. And I think that's one of the things you got to be thick-skinned. You got to just be thinking, you know what, I know what I'm doing, and you got to have a vision of where you want to go with that. I think I've had so many no's throughout the years. It's kind of washing off the shoulder now, and that's how I kind of move forward. And in terms of I just think the exhibition, I think somebody said it earlier, I think it was Lara actually said it about being a creative process. I think film exhibition is a very creative process, and I think a lot of people don't really see that and just think, oh, you just slap some films together and just put them out. It's a lot deeper than that, and I think it's a skill that if you get it right, it can make or break a film, I think. So I think that's one of the things people have got to think about, is how you put it together. It's a very, very meticulous thing, I think, and how to source films and what films go together and the blends. And like somebody said earlier, it's a bit like DJing sort of thing. It is very, that's the way I approached it anyway. It had to have a theme. All our festivals had to have a theme and a journey of where they were going. They had to follow follow a narrative, I'd say. In terms of the future, I think the future is really good, especially with the platforms that are out there now, to actually put films. You don't have to rely on necessarily cinemas to give you a few breadcrumbs here and there. I think there's a lot more platforms for you to express yourself and be a lot more, have a lot more freedom and be a lot more creative with as well. So that's an opportunity I think people should look at as well.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I'd like to thank all my guests for coming on tonight. I'm here to support in any way I can. You guys have been talking about distribution. This is what I've decided to move fully into now. So maybe hopefully I will be approaching some of you guys with some films in the future as the actual distributor of the film. And again, also, you guys have been speaking about online. A lot of us have taken advantage of that now, and it's maybe going to actually help some of us actually. So again, Kush has launched his own online platform, Virtual Cinema, where everyone is now going to sort of run off to and go and watch the fantastic film Black Joy. So Kush Films Online is our new virtual cinema. We're hoping to be doing showing a lot more films online through that platform. And also, again, bringing films to the UK to theatrically distribute them here in the UK. So, once again, I'd like to thank everyone. You've now got to find